Okay, everybody ready? All right, let's go. Let's get it, let's get it. Okay, hello to all my good people. Today is Sunday, November 22nd. And in observance of November as Diabetes Awareness Month, the Black Agenda Alliance and the BAA Family Initiatives Committee decided to host a discussion centered around the Black family table, its consequences and its origins. We have a group panel with us today who have graciously accepted the invitation to serve as participants and who have agreed to share their experience with us about their own Black family table. We will ask the participants about how the foods that are traditionally served to their family has impacted their overall health. Moreover, what type of changes have been made to better promote healthy living and overall wellness. So first, I will have the panelists introduce themselves, and then we will get right into asking the questions. I'm this evening's discussion facilitator, Kara Warner, chairwoman of the Black Agenda Alliance and member of the BAA Family Initiative Committee. And so we can go ahead and get started and ask Ms. Adrienne Keys to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Keys. I'm a caseworker, social worker, if that's what you want to call it. I've been living with diabetes for over 20 years. So it was really important for me to join this conversation, just to let people know what it is like to live with diabetes and how you can make changes and differences in how you eat and things like that. So I'm super excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Adrienne. Lamont.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lamont Gilchrist. I am a exercise physiologist, scientist, a epigenetics coach, and I specialize in indigenous health for indigenous people. As a practice, also a pro athlete and train young and pro athletes. Thank you.
Thank you, Lamont. Chardonnay, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, hi guys, my name's Chardonnay Holtz, but I go by Danye, so feel free to address me as such. I was invited to be a part of this panel because I have been vegetarian for going on 5 years, but not recently, but I started a vegan vegetarian business where I was doing meal prep called Nature Soul, but I stopped when I had my baby, so I've kind of been on a little break since then, but I've been invited here just to be able to provide a little bit of feedback about being vegan and vegetarian and how that affects your health.
Perfect, Danae, thank you. Erica?
Hi, I'm Erica Johnson. I am a signing agent in Notary Public, and I am, this conversation is important to me because I have 3 children that I'm very interested in introducing more healthier food habits and kind of starting a new tradition in my family.
Thank you. And am I missing somebody? Okay. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. First question I'd like to ask, I would like to ask all the panelists. We could start with Danae. Can we start with you? What foods are traditionally served at your holiday meals? And have any of these recipes been passed down to you from previous generations?
I feel like we probably all eat the same thing, you know, turkey, ham, chitlins. I never ate them, but you know, this dressing, mac and cheese, you know, all that stuff that's on there. So, you know, we get the whole spread. So I feel like I can't, you know, point out anything specifically. As far as anything that's been passed down to me, I think my granny, that's my great grandmother. Her dressing is kind of a big deal in the family. And with me being vegan, I have worked these last couple of Thanksgivings to try to recreate her dressing, just not with the chicken and, you know, the chicken broth and things like that. I'm almost there. But so I would say, if anything, Granny's dressing is going to be you know, the thing that in my family that we passed down for generations.
Lamont?
Oh, yeah, well, uniquely, I really don't celebrate holidays like that, but I do have family members and have everyone that I know have their traditional meals as far as like turkey, pies, cakes, all the things that you would associate with Thanksgiving as such. But I will note that although these recipes and these different things have been passed down traditionally, because of the change of the times and the way that foods are processed and the different things that are inside of food, although we say a turkey is a turkey, but when it's 20, 30 pounds bigger because of the hormones and the different things being placed in them and growing practices, we are not actually eating the same quality of foods that our ancestors ate. So I want to be very clear on that too. Even though we associate a burger with being a burger or anything else like that, it's all about where you get the food from and what is the ground soil like, how is the culture practice of raising the animal if you choose to eat that, and as such things like that. So
That's really good. Good information. We'll definitely get into that shortly. Erica. Do I need to repeat the question?
Sorry, I had to find my mute button.
Okay.
But yes, please.
What foods are traditionally served at your holiday meals, and have any of these recipes been passed down to you from previous generations?
I kind of agree with both of the other panelists there that like we pretty much kind of all eat the same thing. Turkey, ham, macaroni and cheese dressing, all those different things. I can't necessarily say that any dinners have been passed down to me. I mean, we kind of just eat the same thing throughout the family, but like I just kind of like have the habit of just going to my mother's house and eating whatever they cook. I'm not the cook of the family, so I don't really cook much of anything. I just kind of I buy the different foods that's necessary for them to cook the meals that they want, and then I just come over and I might help cook, or I'll just come over and just eat with everybody. I don't really do too much celebrating of holidays either. However, like I said, like anytime my mother like plans anything, I will make sure to participate just to see her, just to see the rest of the family. But I don't necessarily have anything that I plan on passing down to my kids. I am a big fan of like dressing and deep fried turkey and things like that, but I'm so open to learning how to eat to live and training my children on how to eat to live, that I'm not really, I guess it's just, it's not something that really was high on my priority list to like take any recipes and pass them down and continue to pass them down, just because I know what's in them. A lot of butter, a lot of like just, you know, different things that can like clog arteries or whatever the case may be. And I'm totally open to just letting all of that go to learn how to do something completely different.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. I think it's really important that we discuss the quality of food nowadays and how that has negatively impacted our overall health. So I'm glad that Lamont, you mentioned that, and many of you actually mentioned the quality of food is just not the same as what it once was. And so we really need to take heed to that, especially with all the processed food that we've picked up and our children are eating all day, every day. So I definitely want to go into that as we go on into the conversation. The second question I do want to ask is, are there any recipes that have stemmed from our slavery heritage that we are still consuming today. And I think Charnay said, mentioned chitterlings. Most people, a lot of people don't eat them. Most people still eat them. I remember being introduced to chitterlings when I was 7 years old, and I actually loved them. It wasn't until maybe 4 or 5 years ago I stopped eating them. So we definitely want to go into how slavery and what we used to eat in that era has impacted how we eat as a family dynamic around the dinner table, especially during holidays. And then also how showing homage or perpetuating the slave mentality for our community is correlated to how we eat, if that makes sense. So again, the question is, are there any recipes that have stemmed from our slavery heritage that we are still consuming today? And is this showing homage or perpetuating the slave mentality for our community? I'd like to hear from Lamont on this.
Now that I know you're going to jump on me first about this. Well, first of all, I will have to say, we have to take things when we're looking at slavery and we're looking at timelines and we're looking at things that we actually did. And so when you're talking about energy input and energy output, in the slavery days, whatever it was that they were utilizing, believe me, they were putting out energy at a high rate, not being able to work and other things going on and stuff like that. And then once again, it'll go back to the quality of the food. They knew where the food come from. It wasn't 7 times removed from all across other places and stuff like that. So we are and have been a very strong and resilient people, being indigenous to this planet. So we've made do with the things that we had to make do under whatever circumstances that we face. We can't correlate those times with today times, even with traditional eating things and practices and stuff like that, because we don't put out that type of energy they was putting out. We wasn't in those type of conditions. Really, in reality, if you're living in the United States, there's no one really starving. There's really no one going hungry. You could go to a dumpster, you could go somewhere and get something. I know it sounds very crude and rude, but under those conditions that they were under, the stressful conditions, the amount of times or the frequencies of time that they may have eaten, meaning like they may go 2 or 3 days without eating. Some people didn't eat so they could feed their kids, other situations and stuff like that. You just have a different physiological output and input of those particular things that you take in. It's just like from a scientific level, I can consume something with an efficient organ system, adrenal system, insulin receptors to my muscle cells and other things and stuff like that. And then someone else can consume the same thing that I consume and have a different physiological reaction. So that plays a big part on all of that. So.
Yeah, that's really good information. Thank you, Lamont. Adrian?
Just want to kind of piggyback off of what Lamont said. You have to understand that back in those days, in slavery days, they were giving the leftovers, what was picked through, and they took what they picked through and made good food with it. I'm sorry, greens is good. I don't eat chitterlings, never have, won't ever do it ever, never ever. I don't eat pig feet, but they made pig feet, chicken legs, all kind of stuff. However, to me, it was like Lamont said, in order for them to be out on the field, in the fields picking cotton all day from the sun up to sundown, they had to eat foods with lots of carbs on it, lots of breading on it, lots of fat in it so that they won't pass out in the sun. It wasn't like they was giving them water breaks or, you know, bringing water bottles to them. They were making them work in the highest points of the sun. And so I can understand that paying homage is, I'm always going to have respect for my ancestors and what they did bring to the table of what was given to them. They made something awesome of it, but they did not understand that what they were doing was going to affect us in the future. Like Lamont said, you can eat a cheeseburger. All of you guys on here can eat cheeseburgers and you'll be fine. If I would eat a cheeseburger, my blood sugar will jump to like 400, which would set me into diabetic ketoacidosis, which I go into a coma, my organs can shut down and things like that. For me, I believe that it is also perpetuating the slave mentality, because we are still yet we do not have access to good nutritional foods. They're at high cost to us. A lot of the people that in my community, they have to buy the stuff that's the cheapest because they can't afford to pay $20, $30, $40 for the stuff that they need to eat, but they have to eat what they know and what is fast and what's good and fulfilling to the soul. So I believe it's in between. But I do also agree a lot with what Lamont said. It's, you got to understand your body, and doing that, they were doing that to help them survive. And now, like Erica said, most people live to eat instead of eat to live. And until you get that mentality and change your mindset, you'll always have that slave mentality where I have to eat chitterlings and I have to eat ham hocks and I have to eat that, but you don't, because you can find other healthy choices with the same prices. You just have to go do your research.
Very good points, Adrian. Thank you. Charnay?
I actually fully agree with both Lamont and Adrian. I was actually just talking to my boyfriend earlier, and we can say, or older people can, talk like my grandma. Y'all, one day she really told somebody she didn't eat pork no more, but I literally just saw her eat some fat back earlier. So I was like, what? But how they'll be like, well, I lived this long, but the thing is, y'all pork was different than it is today. So it's a whole different ball game. But it's just, I don't know if we're paying homage or if we just kind of stuck in a cultural haze, of just being, oh, well, this is what we do. This is how we eat. But at this point, we know it's killing us, so why are we doing it? I can't, I guess at a certain age, you just kind of stuck in your ways, but I wish I could get my grandmother to, just kind of, maybe eat some of the stuff that I cook. I mean, she's tried some stuff, some things she likes, some things it's just not, I don't know, whatever enough for her. But I mean, if I could, I would. My grandma's 70, and I'm like a lot of older Black people. She still moves around well. She has her memory, all of that. She's just overweight, and she can't stop eating, all the bull crap that she's eating to actually be able to go up and down her stairs comfortably or leave the house and be comfortable. And there's just a lot of things that I feel like if my grandmother changed her diet, things would be a lot better for her.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Erica?
To some degree, I kind of feel like it's them paying homage. I don't know if it goes as far as back as slavery. I don't really want to speak too much on that because I'm not as savvy as I'd like to be on that topic. But I will say that, like, from my personal experience dealing with my family and people that I've, seen and had a chance to experience holidays with them, it is a lot of paying homage. It's, well, this is how my granny cooked her greens, and so I'm going to cook my greens this way. Or this is how, my mother or my great-grandmother taught me how to make my mac and cheese, so this is just the way I'm going to do it. And like Adrienne was saying, or, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing, Adriana, like she was saying, a lot of it too is them putting in food what they feel like will feed their soul. I think that's why they call it soul food, just because it just feels good to be around each other and eat those same foods that we've just experienced for years, that kind of remind us of some of our folks that passed away. And then afterwards, we full, we sleepy, we might pass out on, granny's couch or mama's couch or something like that. So I think also too, like, even though that's the fun, cool side of it, I also think a lot of it is just a lot of our family being very, very stubborn and difficult, it's really hard to get them to change their ways. I kind of really can relate to Chardonnay when she said, you know, like her grandmother will try certain things, but then other things it's just not enough. It's just not something that's going to do anything for her. She just can't rock with it. And I feel like I kind of go through the same thing with my mom. My mom wants to eat different so bad, but she'll try something and she's like, you know, I cannot. I'm not going to do that. That's not something that I'm going to eat. So I think a lot of it is stubbornness. I think that a lot of it is our lack of information when it comes to resources as well. Because some healthy foods might be difficult to come by, but there's also like individuals in our community, you know, they may not put the information out there as much as they should, or the information might not be passed around as often as it should be. But I personally get like free fruits and vegetables from people a lot. So, I mean, it's definitely possible to get those healthy foods. And I think that also too, a lot of people kind of go through a situation to where it's like, I don't know what to do with this. Like I go to my mom for everything. If I don't go to my mom for as far as something to cook, then I'll try Google. But like just recently I had came across a food called a chayote squash. And like I still struggle with how to process or how to pronounce the word. And I had no idea what to do with it, like how to cook it. I wound up just slicing it up and frying it in olive oil and just eating it that way. So I think I think a lot of us just, as far as Black families are concerned, we just lack the patience to learn something new. And then also, you know, we kind of are stuck in this mindset of, oh, that's bland. That's white folks' food. We don't eat like that. Like, you know, and that's another thing that I think is really difficult for us. And that's why we have so many underlying conditions. I try really hard to stay away from the salt. But, you know, it just might not, because of the lack of the regular white salt. Like I use a little pink Himalayan salt when I cook, but because of like the white salt and people are mostly used to that, they might be like, this is bland, you know, or this needs some Lawry's or, you know, something like that. So I think that a lot of it, we're just stuck in our ways. I think I think a lot of our, especially the females in my family, like, I think they get a lot of happiness when it comes to feeding people, and then just knowing that they think that the food is good and they, you know, dang, she can cook. And I think like a lot of the women have just gotten like kind of addicted to that feeling. And we kind of feel like it's our place. And if they lose that, then what do they have? And, you know, what good is it to be cooking the foods that we love so much if we're frustrated trying to learn something new? A lot of people don't have time for it. A lot of older Black folks are still working and they just don't have time for all of that. They just want to take their holiday vacation and they want to cook what they know. And they just want family to come over and just keep things the way that they are, the way that it is, because it's just simple to do that. So, yeah, sorry if I'm talking too long, but I really think though that all of those things plays a part, but I don't know if it goes as far as back to slavery and paying homage to that type of lifestyle. I don't know about that, but I do know that like the foods that our great grandmothers cooked and our great grandmothers cooked and stuff, it's hard to let go of that.
Yeah, I agree with what everybody said. There's this book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGroy, and she discusses, she mentions how we as a family dynamic, or we as a cultural people, to be honest, we have adopted these traditions, and we don't know why we do the things that we do. We just know that we learned them. And so that goes into, you know, how we eat as a family dynamic. If you think about it, when somebody passes away, what do people ask for? Chicken and side dishes. Repast. You know, this is a time for us to get together and reminisce, and this is just a cultural tradition of ours. When we get together to play spades or play board games, what do? We eat. So I think that it is a sense of comfort for us. I think this is just traditionally what we have, some of the behaviors that we've adopted, and of course it's going to be difficult because it is a generational thing. I do think that it does stem from slavery, of having to, like Adrian said, pick through what you can in order to survive. And so they were able to manipulate the taste. And so, of course, it tastes like it's familiar to us. So, and with that being said, in terms of trying to transition into healthier living and healthier eating, if you look around, you know, we're from Omaha, right? Or most of us are from Omaha. We live in Omaha. You go to North Omaha, there's these food deserts where there aren't many fresh produce grocery stores that we can go to at all. You know, there's a McDonald's on every corner. There's a liquor store on every corner. There's a chicken joint on every corner. So I think that this is definitely systemic. First of all, it goes back to who's developing our cities, who's developing our urban cities. And so we have to hold them accountable, but then we also have to continue, like we're doing now, continue to educate our community on why it is really important for us to understand the generational disposition of how we eat, and how we can transition from a more familiar base eating to healthier eating, if that makes sense. So I agree with all of you on that. Next question, and we can start with Adrian, if you don't mind. I'm sorry if I asked you first last time.
You're okay.
So, and this is actually the Erica, what you mentioned, all of what you mentioned is a really good segue to this question. The question is, soul food seems to be mostly comfort food. What advice could be offered to someone that has issues with using food as comfort or even binge eating? That's a really good question.
That is a great question. Thank you for asking me that. With someone like myself, I had an issue with binge eating before. And so first of all, I would tell someone, if you have that issue, please seek help if you cannot handle it on your own. But for someone, I think it's because emotions play into our food, how we eat and how we handle ourselves. A lot of times sometimes, like, I don't know about the rest of the ladies on here, when you break up with your boyfriend, what do you go to? Your number one go-to is what? Let me get some ice cream or some wine, and I'm sitting on the couch boohooing crying. But you're eating to avoid the feelings that you're having. And so I would tell people, instead of like binging on cookies, don't binge at all if you can not to. Try not to do it. But if you are going to binge eat things like broccoli or cauliflower or celery, cucumbers. Those things have no calories, no carbs, and you can eat as much as you want of it, you know. And so it's not healthy to binge either way, you know. However, but I stated before, Kara, how like when things happen, like when people die. I remember when my dad passed away last year. All they did was people were bringing buckets of chicken, and you know, thinking that we were just going to eat pans and pans of chicken and cakes and pies and cookies and snacks. You're like, dang, we're not even thinking about eating, you know. We're thinking about, our, you know, dad just passed away. So you have to understand that you have to be able to control your mindset. Like, again, everything is in moderation. So you don't like Erica said, you're not living to eat, you're eating to live. And so when you have those habits come up where you feel like you're an emotion, you feel like binging, instead of binging, go take a walk, go write in a book, or find another hobby, call somebody and say, hey, you know, I'm feeling like I just really want to eat a bunch of stuff. And that if that person can be your accountability partner, say, okay, well, let's go take a walk instead of you eating. Because again, like we have a lot of health problems as African-American people. We really do. We have diabetes, we have heart disease, we have high blood pressure, you know, the sugar, whatever you want to call it. So it's hard to not binge eat if you're not aware of that's what it is. Because as a kid, and all you guys can agree, every time somebody has a birthday, pregnancy, holiday, Kwanzaa, whatever, Valentine's Day, all we do is eat. because we get together as a family and it just makes us feel good. So I think it's reconditioning your mindset of knowing that food is not the constant go-to. So I would suggest not to binge eating. It didn't work well, not on the end.
That's really good advice, Adrian. Thank you. Lamont?
I just want to go back just a little bit when we were talking about Thanksgiving and holidays and all the other stuff, and then I'll go forward. We have to understand that those celebrations, your anniversaries, kids' birthdays, certain things that we do traditionally, if you did majority of the things right, then you wouldn't have any really physiological problem with enjoying those times. So it's the things that we do outside of those celebrations or dragging them out from Thanksgiving Day to Thanksgiving week and eating leftovers and doing this. And then what we've already done prior to these celebrations. And one of the things that I tell my clients, especially when we're dealing with foods and particular things, is it a new experience? Are you in Italy eating pizza? Is it something that you haven't had before? Because if it's not, it's not anything that should really be important. And I know that's kind of hard because you have to realize the things that people are calling foods are actually not foods. They are chemically developed inside laboratories to taste a particular way because they've done a research to smell a particular way, to have just enough of a certain macro or micronutrition so that your physiology crave these particular things. So for instance, let's say something is loaded with a whole bunch of carbohydrates, but it has just enough vitamin B in it. So your body needs to utilize vitamin B. So you'll overeat the carbohydrates, especially if it's high glycemic, because it causes a chemical response. It has the same receptor paths as opioids to your brain and other things and stuff like that. So these are not situations, and I know just from my extensive research and what it is that I do around the world, is that these things you have to understand are strategically planned by people who don't have your best interests at hand. So when you go to these different supermarkets or you go to these different places, if you go to a certain area in a certain city, you're going to have a limited amount of things that you're going to be able to pick from. If you go somewhere else, and this is across the United States, I travel and do this across the United States, you're going to have other things that you can do from. So when you're in a war, which we are in a war for our health as indigenous people, once again, they didn't bring our indigenous food with them when they brought us over here or when we migrated. So you have to realize that in a war, a very good war strategic strategy is to cut off food supplies. That's why you don't see fruit trees in the city like I used to see when I was a kid, because you could eat and it was healthier. All these things are strategically manipulated. And then the big factor is that we're using physiology and science that is not applicable to us because we have different receptors, we have different insulin sensitivity. If someone is pre-diabetic, then you better believe if they're an indigenous person, then they are diabetic because their beta cells in their pancreas are being destroyed, or their liver is not processing, or the acetylcholine that's building up. So you have to understand, we don't all have the same physiology, and that's fine. We don't all process the same thing. Women have more different chemical reactions than men. So we have to get realistic about what we're calling food and what we're eating for, and our strategic plan going forward to how we're going to address this issue. It's just not going to go away, especially in a hostile environment. So you have to have strategic reasons. And like when I eat something, I can break down every physiological reaction to a percentage of what I think is going to be doing inside of my body. So when I'm taking something in, I'm consuming something or adding to my vessel, I have a strategic and a purpose for why I'm adding this to my vessel. So, and with that being said, I think that we need to come up with better definitions of what we're calling food and healthy and all these other things and stuff like that, for one, to identify it. And for two, to start researching and talking to people who have your best interest for your physiology in mind when they're talking about these particular things. Because like I said, once again, everyone do not have the same physiology. Everyone do not process food the same way. Everyone do not have the same gut flora. Everyone do not absorb carbohydrates at the same rate. So it's really that complex. Thank you. Can't hear you.
Erica, you want to go?
Sure. So this is something that I struggle with. In fact, for as long as I can remember, I've struggled with binge eating. And I think that for somebody that's struggling with it right now, I would just tell them to just take it day by day and kind of remember what your focus is. A lot of this is just, in my opinion, just mindset. A lot of it is just making a decision, setting a goal, focusing on that goal, and like staying focused on achieving that goal. Um, and I would also say, like, we have to also remember that we're not perfect, and there will be times where we'll slip up and mess up. I've had situations where I would binge eat something and I'd feel extremely guilty about it, and anybody that's close to me can vouch for that. Like, that they'll know what I'm talking about. So I just think that for a person that's dealing with that, just take it day by day. Try not to have so much temptation in the house. Like, for me personally, like, I have children, so I kind of struggle with forcing them or getting them to eat how I eat. But you know, they're kids at the end of the day. They have to eat whatever I feed them. So just try not to have too much tradition in the house. Don't go too hard on yourself when you slip up and you might eat something, or you might overeat something that you shouldn't have. And then also, like Lamont was saying, like, don't drag it out. Don't do it for 5, 6, 7, 8 days. You know, you have a bad day, you get back on track the next day. Also too, I think meal prep helps a lot. Take a specific day, set aside a specific block of time every week, once or twice a week, depending on, you know, how you like, how fresh you like your food, and just set aside time to meal prep. And then that way, when you are hungry, you know, if you stay to a certain time schedule, like me, I love the intermediate fasting. I'll eat solid foods from like noon to 6 or 6:30. So I eat like every 2 hours or 2.5 hours, something along those lines. And if I get hungry before that or after that, then I'll drink water. To me, water is really, really good, with kind of helping to control that hunger. I don't know if this is a good idea, but it's something that I do. I take the Garcinia cambogia vitamins, or pills, I don't know. But I do drink those before I eat, after I eat my last meal, to kind of help me deal with hunger. And then I do other alternatives, like, and I do it for more than just, oh, I'm hungry. Like, I'll do it if I feel like I want to drink, or if I want to like partake in something that I know is not healthy, that I know I shouldn't be doing. I'll just do push-ups until I can't take it anymore. I really like when Adrian said, go for a walk. I'm more of a jogger, so go jog around the block. Like, just do whatever you can to make sure that your mind don't slip back onto that, because it's difficult, but it's just us training our minds to be stronger and better. Because there is a McDonald's on every block. There is a liquor store on every block with chips and cupcakes and honey buns and all these different things that we love so much, candy, Skittles, all those different things. So like, just find an alternative. Get hungry at midnight, you know, do some push-ups. And if you feel like you can't take it, go for a healthy alternative. Have a banana.
Thank you, Erica. Good advice. Charnay?
I don't know. Everybody kind of touched on everything. I would just, I would say people should keep in mind that sugar is definitely considered like it's the drug, like you get addicted to it. So, that's part of the reason, people, are really snacky or feel like they want to keep eating is because once you done being high from that sugar rush, you want it again. Your body gets addicted to that. So I think that people should consider what it is that they're eating when they're binging. Like Adrian said, if you're gonna binge, you got to binge more healthy things, because then it's not so guilty. I know it doesn't taste as good as you want it to, but you want to eat though, right? So I say, things that maybe you can mix, like nuts. You can. If you just want, if it's about the action of just putting things in your mouth or bringing your hand up to your mouth, you can chop up things, strawberries, if that's it. So slice up your bananas. If it's pleasing to you to have the action of bringing your hand to your mouth and eating, I think you should, eat more, more healthy things, but then also find a way to kind of trick your mind into thinking you're eating more than you are. But I feel like everybody that went before me, y'all said everything I would have said and things I would have never thought to say, Lamont. But, I think that, I, it's, I don't know, y'all said it. And Erica saying, meal prepping or just I think like planning it out, it helps you a lot because, you know what you got in front of you, and if you ain't got it no more, again, with the mindset, just if it's not there, that's it for me today, and not to beat yourself up. I would have people that I meal prep for and they'd be like, oh, I messed up. I had a burger this weekend. I was like, it's okay. I didn't start off this way doing everything right or doing it, I started off being vegetarian just Monday through Friday just to see what it was like. And then it became a lifestyle for me. This wasn't a plan. I didn't plan on making a whole business out of it. It was just something that I wanted to do. I always saw the pigs and the cows on the trucks. I'm like, oh, poor, it just don't know what it's on its way to. And I just never actually did it. And then went on a vacation and came back with a new attitude, and I said, we just gonna try it at least Monday through Friday. And now it's, it's my life. So a lot of it is it's all about mindset. We all know people who want to stop doing something and they don't. And then one day, maybe even if it's years down the line, they finally stop, but that's because they really wanted to do it. So, it's mindset, just understanding that, understanding what the effects of the things are that you put in your body and, planning. I don't have anything more to add to that. I hope I helped somebody.
Absolutely. You all gave great advice, made great observations, and because of the sake of time, for the sake of time, rather, I'm going to ask, I really want to ask Adrian this question, and then anybody else who has had a health scare could definitely chime in. But Adrian, really want to ask you this question because you did express that you have been diabetic for the majority of your life. And that you decided to change your eating habits due to that health issue. So how has your diabetes, how has that influenced your decision to change your lifestyle? And also, has that influenced your entire family, especially your immediate family, to get on board and change their eating as well, or their eating habits as well?
Yes, ma'am, Kara, thank you for asking. That's a great question. Yeah, I've been diabetic for like over about almost 20 years now. What made me change, in 2015, I had a stroke, lost the whole left side usage of my left side of my body, had to learn how to use my hand and my leg again to walk, had therapy, ended up catching an infection in both my arms, had a surgery. 2 hours after I had the surgery, they ended up taking 4 blood clots from out of my arms. Ended up getting infected, and I almost died. So they put me in the hospital. I was in the hospital for 3 months with Clorox wipes stuck in my arms to heal from the inside out. And that's all because of diabetes. So diabetes is it's a very silent killer. Lamont knows that. He's so smart. He like my idol right now. I can't wait to like have like a conversation with you about diabetes. But it has changed my life. It influenced me. I just recently found out I have early stage onset of kidney disease. And so when I found that out, I said, you know, I need to change. I need to change the way I eat. The spreads in my household used to be from the one end of the table to the other end of the table. My dad would cook everything and anything, and that's just how we celebrated each other. But it was very bad for me. And so I decided to go plant-based living. And plant-based has been great for me. I've lost a lot of by eating that way. Stopped eating meat, found different ways to maneuver to do the same meals without the meat and all the carbohydrates, going straight plant-based, fruits, vegetables, even down to the actual seasonings that I use, they're all plant-based. I just basically told my kids, I came home and I was like, look, I have early stage kidney disease. But like my dad said, before he passed away, you had this before, you just found out you had it. So don't make a big deal out of it and just try to change. And I just told my kids, hey, you guys are going to go plant-based with me, the whole entire household, whether you want to or not. It made it fun because we were able to like find different ways to make the same meals without using the red meats and I don't eat pork at all, period. But you know, those type of things. And it has helped me in my family a lot because I also have two daughters that are diabetic. Diabetes runs rabbit through my family, especially on my mom's side of the family. Like my grandma had it, my grandpa had it, my mom has it, my aunt has it, my other aunt has it, my cousin has it. Like it's all throughout my family. And so it just helped me to learn how to eat in moderation and stop living to eat. Like Chardonnay said, and like Erica said, you don't just because it's there don't mean you got to have 2 pieces of catfish. You can have 1 piece of catfish, everything in moderation. And just like how habits are easily formed and hard to break, you can break a habit in 21 days and you can change that lifestyle. And for me, it's not about the food. For me, it's about living to see my kids have kids and their kids have kids, you know, and living a long time. Like I'm dealing right now with an infection in my foot that a dog bone cut me. And now I have an infection in my foot. I don't want to get my foot cut off. So for me, this is life or death for me. So it's very important for me to make sure that what I am putting into my vessel, like Lamont said, is going to benefit me and benefit me the most. And it's just making those changes. Instead of having a cheeseburger with a bread, just have the cheeseburger with the lettuce. You can have the burger if you want, or you can go and have a vegan burger, or you can have a turkey burger. It's just making those choices and not having to fry everything. You can bake stuff and broil stuff and air fry stuff, and it tastes just like the fried food. So I think it was just about almost seeing death and then coming back from that and then just making those life changes and choices. And it also helps that you have a support system too as well. My husband is my biggest support system. Like he would be like, babe, you look like you don't feel good. Here's some water, drink some water, or let's have a salad instead of having burgers tonight, or let's not eat bread, or let's have just an egg sandwich, and they do it with me without even complaining. And so that's what makes it easier for me. And I think that if all people would have that same support system behind them, then it would be easier for them. And then also making sure that we have quality vegetables. It's a shame that I have to drive all the way out to Whole Foods or West Omaha to get quality fruits and vegetables. I can go to Baker's down here on 30th Street or 50th and Ames and get a tomato, and by tomorrow it's already sinking in, and almost I have to, if I don't eat it right away, it's going bad. You know, I shouldn't have to make those choices in that way. We should all have equal opportunity to get fruits and vegetables so that we can live a long time. So that's my thoughts on that, though.
Adrienne, thank you so much for sharing that. And
You're welcome.
I really appreciate you being as transparent as you are, because it really does put things into perspective as far as, you know, we have a lot of silent killers. high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes. My mom passed away from a stroke 11 years ago, and it just really came out of nowhere, you know. Come to find out, she had high cholesterol and high blood pressure for years, and didn't know. So it really is important for us to understand, like, especially what runs in the family, what we may be dealing with internally that we don't know, we may be dealing, or we don't know that we could be dealing with, rather. So even with going to the doctor, you know, a lot of times people say, especially Black men, don't like to go to the doctor and get their physicals and things like that. Those type of things is truly important. And then also, I really wish that we had more time, but even with the pharmaceutical industry, like, we can heal ourselves through the way we eat. And, you know, a lot of these things are just about researching and doing and taking the time to educate yourself. So I'm really glad that we had this conversation. It's almost 5 o'clock, you guys. So I really, I want to get some last words from you all, and then we're going to close out. I truly appreciate all of you participating. This has been an awesome conversation. I think that we should have probably kept it from 4 to 5:30, but we can probably schedule another time to come on. And I would love all of you to come back and have this conversation, because I think that it is truly, truly important for our community to have a reference. And like Lamont, you're who knew that you were, you know, like, we need to be coming to you. We need to, you know, we got to make sure that we have these platforms so that people know who to go to in the community. With, you know, Adrian and your life experience, and Chardonnay with your transition, and Erica with your transition, it's really important to have these conversations with the people that we're having them with. So thank you so much. Any final thoughts before we leave?
Hello?
Yes.
All right. Thanks to everyone on the panel for sharing their information and their journey. I really appreciate it. I want to address one thing real quick. Diabetes is a symptom. It is not actually a disease. You can have type 1, type 2. Type 1 is something that happened to a fetus, an infection that destroys the beta cells inside the pancreas. Type 2 is because you're pumping out so much insulin that the beta cells become damaged. It goes over to your liver, it goes into your adrenal system, and you have a whole other array of things that go wrong with your physiology. So because I hear people say these things run in your family. What runs in people's family is that we do the things and we mimic the people that we see. That's why someone can develop the same type of thing like diabetes or something else at that particular time. So I just like to clarify and make sure that we identify with real science the situations that we are facing in the community. And I want to thank everyone for chiming in and having me on, and I appreciate everyone.
Thank you, Lamont. Thank you. Anybody else?
I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you for having me, and hopefully, you know, my story will touch someone, sharing that information with you guys. And just remember that, you know, habits are easily formed, hard to break, but you can break a habit in 21 days. And so just take the time out to, you're going to do the most for yourself. Just love yourself and try to do the best you can, and don't down yourself if you fail. And so I appreciate everybody on the panel. Thank you so much. And so.
Thank you so much, Adrian.
I want to thank Christina for reaching out to me, but more so thank Erica for suggesting me to join the panel. Yeah, I heard about that girl. So I just, you know, I appreciate the fact that I'm being thought about right now, because I have been quiet in regards to, you know, cooking and food since I've had the baby. So I just appreciate being thought about, and then just everyone else just accepting me to be on the panel. So if you guys do it again, yes, I would love to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chardonnay. Thank you so much. Erica?
Yeah, just thanks a lot for allowing me to be on the panel, and I definitely appreciate it, and I hope that people that were watching got something out of it. And yeah, like, like Adrian was saying too, like, don't be so hard on yourself. These habits are not easily broken, and just take it one day at a time. But I definitely like to come back. This is something that we could talk about all day. So I'm definitely interested in learning more and being able to figure out more things and just learning how to break old habits and make new ones.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you to our awesome panelists. And I also want to thank our Black Agenda Alliance members and Family Initiative Committee members, Felicia Bonner, Christina Avant, and Erica Johnson, who is also a panelist. They have been working very hard to make sure that we have these discussions on a monthly basis. We, as a family initiative, we want to make sure that we're discussing all aspects of family, from health to love to relationships, so on and so forth. So I want to give kudos to the ladies who are here with us today. And really want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being a part of the committee, and as a representative of the Black Agenda Alliance and chairwoman of the Black Agenda Alliance. As an organization, we appreciate your hard work and your dedication to the organization and these discussions. So I hope that everybody has a blessed Sunday evening, and we will have this discussion again. I'm gonna see to it that we do. We're gonna see to it that we do have this discussion again. But thank you all. Have a good evening. Enjoy your families this evening.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you. Have a good
Thank you,
evening, guys.
ladies. Thank you. Y'all have a good one. Thanks.
Thank you. You too.
All right.
All
Good
right. Bye.
night.
Bye.
Bye.